hospital. They told me she left a few hours ago. I thought, wait, why would she tell me she had to go to work? But they said she left a few hours ago. That didn't make sense. I decided to drive by her work to see if her car was there, and it wasn't. So I continued to drive around the area of the hospital, but still didn't see her car. I called her again, but nothing. Goes straight to voicemail, so I left a message. I'm trying not to panic, but I have this sick feeling in my stomach. I just know something isn't right. My wife has never kept anything from me. Never. Even when we dated in college, when she was going for her Bachelor's of Science degree. This is why I am a little concerned, because I know if something is bothering her, she would tell me. I am not sure what to do, but I know I need to find out what is going on. So I continue to drive around looking for a car, but I still couldn't find her car. So I go home and just wait for her to call me. At about 7 in the morning, she calls and apologizes that she had a busy night at the hospital. That's why she didn't call me back. I thought to myself, she is lying. I know she is, but I just said, it's okay. We'll talk when you get home. At about 8 a.m., my wife gets home and starts to tell me this story about a patient that came in that needed around-the-clock care, but I couldn't pay attention because I knew she was lying to me. As I continued to listen, all I could think about was, how could I find out why she was lying to me? We talked for a little bit longer. Then she went and cleaned up and eventually went to bed. I went to work. I work for the city, so I wasn't able to just take off and try to track her movements. If she was cheating on me, I wanted to find out. I called a few private investigators on my lunch break. It's quite expensive, but these guys are good, and I just didn't have the time to keep trying to follow her to see what she was doing. We live in Georgia, and I am in the process of researching the divorce laws here. I don't want a divorce, but if she's cheating on me, I want out. The good thing is that we don't have any kids. She has had 3 miscarriages in our marriage. This is not the marriage I signed up for. This is not the woman I married 20 years ago. But I need to find out for sure, one way or another. The private investigator I talked to said he would be able to find out what she was doing and who she was seeing, but it would take some time. I told the private investigator that I would think about it and get back to him. When I got home at about 5 p.m., my wife was in the bedroom talking to someone, and I didn't know who she was talking to, but I could tell she was upset. So I just went into the kitchen and started making dinner. After a few minutes, she comes into the kitchen and told me she was talking to her best friend and that she was going through some personal issues and needed to talk to someone. My wife had to work that night, so I made her a plate that she could take to work, and we talked for a few more minutes. Then she got herself together and she left for work a little later. At about midnight, I called the hospital trying to get in touch with her, but the same thing happened. They said she left about 30 minutes ago to get something to eat. I thought to myself, wait, I made her something to eat. It was at that moment that I decided I was going to hire the private investigator. I didn't call her cell phone after I called the hospital. The next morning on the way to work, I called the private investigator and gave him my credit card over the phone. Then I planned to go in and see him and give him pictures and some other information. After work, I gave the private investigator all the information and signed some paperwork. I indicated to him that I wanted him to start right away. For the first couple of nights of surveillance, the private investigator said my wife's car didn't move, which was a little surprising, but I knew it was just a matter of time. The private investigator said he would call me if anything happened. A few nights later, I got a call from the private investigator, and he said he had some video footage of my wife going into someone's house. The private investigator said my wife seems suspicious. He said when she walked out to her car, she would look around before getting in to see if anyone was around. She would then get in her car, and to his surprise, looked like she changed clothes in her car into something more of a workout attire. He said she drove 10 minutes away from the hospital to a house late at night. It looked like she had a key to it because she would drive up and go right in. The private investigator said she would stay between 45 minutes to an hour and then leave, but no one ever came to the door with her when she left. He said she would drive back to the hospital, change back into her work clothes, and go back into the hospital, which turned out to be her lunch break. But I told him I needed more, something showing me that she was touching another man inappropriately. As horrible as it sounded, I told him I needed it to be concrete. So the private investigator said he would keep trying to get more video footage. A few nights later, he called me back and said he had more video footage of my wife, but this time she met a guy at an all-night diner. He said she walked into the diner. There was a guy sitting at a table. My wife walked up, kissed him, and sat down. The private investigator said she must have taken an extended lunch break because she is only gone almost an hour before heading back to work. But this time she didn't do that. After they ate, the private investigator said they both got into separate vehicles and went back to his place. They got out of their cars, walked up to the front door, and started making out before they walked in. After that surveillance footage, I told the private investigator to compile it for me and to let me know when he is done. Over the next few days, I started getting my affairs in order. I wanted to make sure that everything was taken care of, so I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I met with my attorney and told him what was going on, and he started helping me file for divorce and advised me on what I should do next. A few days later, the private investigator called me and said he had the video footage put together, so I went over to his office and he showed me the footage. While all this is going on, I haven't told my wife anything or acted any different. And yes, you guessed it, we do have a dead bedroom, and I wonder why. My lawyer asked me did I want to go for spousal support. I said, spousal support? He said, you know your wife as a nurse practitioner makes almost $100,000 a year in some cases. I told him, yeah, she does make pretty good money. She is almost at $100,000. And I told him I make about $55,000 a year. My attorney says that's a decent disparity in income. You could go for spousal support. I said, what the hell? Let's go for it. I don't think I would have a chance, but might as well try. So we put it in the divorce papers. A few weeks later, my wife has served her with divorce papers, and she is shocked. She didn't see it coming. She calls me and asks me what is going on. I told her, I think you know what's going on. She asked me if I had someone following her. I said yes, and I did. Once she found out I was onto her, she apologized and wanted us to try marriage counseling. I declined everything she offered. I told her it was all BS. I have since moved out, got my own apartment. She owns the house. Her father gave it to her before we were married. I didn't want it, but I was going after spousal support. At the divorce hearing, after the evidence of my wife cheating on me was presented, my wife's attorney tried to get the spousal support claim thrown out, but it was denied by the judge, and he did award me spousal support for 6 years in the amount of $900 per month. I was actually surprised that I got anything. I was a free man. I never heard from or saw my ex-wife again after the divorce hearing. In the coming weeks, the private investigator and I kept in touch, sort of. It turns out that the guy that my ex-wife was having an affair with was a police officer who was also married. In the times my ex-wife was going to his place, his wife was away on business, and when she came back, she found out about his affair and shot him. He survived, and she is awaiting trial from what I've heard. Oh, since this has happened, I did receive my first $900 alimony payment. I would imagine this turned out to be an expensive mistake on her part. I guess it's true what they say, you have to pay to play. I want to thank everyone for their comments. I didn't know these type of forums existed where people share their most intimate details and failures, but thank you. I am healing, and the passive income also helps. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and consider subscribing to the channel for more content. I sincerely appreciate your time.